Today is Thursday, February 23rd. We'll tell you about a massive snowstorm and heat wave hitting the U.S. at the same time. Also, a new development in a case that's been shrouded in mystery since the 1960s, the assassination of Malcolm X. Plus, a serious warning about certain eye drops to avoid, the new places you can expect to see Bing's AI-powered chatbot soon, and an upcoming collaboration that will bring superstar rivals together. Those stories and more coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Americans are dealing with some extreme, opposite weather. In the northern plains, the issue is a powerful winter storm that set low temperature records, while in the southeast, a heat wave is setting record highs for February. We're talking about a difference of more than 100 degrees here. Large parts of Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas had temperatures below zero yesterday, whereas in McAllen, Texas, it got up to 95. Really, though, the extreme temperature difference is just one noteworthy part of this week's weather. A wintry mix hit hard, closing highways from Arizona to Wyoming yesterday. Thousands of flights were canceled or delayed. Hundreds of thousands of people lost power. And more of that is expected today. In parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, more than 18 inches of snow may pile up and get blown around in fierce winds. For the Twin Cities, today could bring one of the biggest snowstorms on record. Also this week, the National Weather Service issued the first blizzard warning in Southern California in decades. It's in effect for the mountains of Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties tomorrow through Saturday. All the while, New York City and other nearby cities are experiencing some of their least snowy winters in the past 50 years. Two of America's greatest adversaries seem to be getting closer to one another. Russia's President Vladimir Putin met with China's top diplomat Wang Yi this week, just days after the U.S. warned China might be thinking about giving Russia arms and ammunition for its war in Ukraine. The U.S. says if that were to happen, there would be consequences. Still, China says its ties with Russia are getting stronger, but that they are only interested in bringing an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, President Biden wrapped up his Europe trip by promising to defend any NATO ally against Russian aggression. Over in the Middle East, this week brought one of the bloodiest battles in nearly a year of fighting in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. At least 11 Palestinians were killed in an hours-long shootout between Israeli forces and militants. And some of those shot were just civilian bystanders. Soon after, Palestinian militants fired 6 rockets from the Gaza Strip. Almost this exact same situation played out just last month. And now both sides say they're on high alert. Remember, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's new hardline government took office less than 2 months ago. The government is dominated by officials who have pushed for tougher action against Palestinian militants and have promised to take over the occupied West Bank. Israel has actually been trying to control the West Bank for the last few decades, but Palestinians believe it's their territory. The Biden administration here in the U.S. still supports a two-state solution, meaning both Palestinians and Israelis should be able to live there safely and securely. In response to this latest fighting, the U.S. State Department urged both sides to avoid any steps that could make violence even worse. But some worry it will get worse as the Muslim holy month of Ramadan approaches next month. Stay tuned. It has been nearly 6 decades since iconic civil rights leader Malcolm X was killed in one of the most high-profile murders of that era. And now, his family members are suing the NYPD, FBI, and CIA over it. They say new information has come to light. And with that, they're accusing the agencies of hiding evidence that they were behind the plan to assassinate Malcolm X. Their lawyer says the triggermen are not the only ones who should be held responsible. This is something scholars and civil rights activists have been saying for years. So far, none of the accused agencies have responded to the new lawsuit. The family is seeking $100 million in damages. Well, astronomers have been looking back in time to the early days of the universe, and they've spotted something unexpected. 6 massive galaxies that, if confirmed, are real, could force scientists to rethink how the universe evolved more than 13 billion years ago. The surprise discovery happened using NASA's powerful and fairly new James Webb Space Telescope. The new study says these galaxies appear to have about as many stars as our Milky Way, but formed only 500 million to 700 million years after the Big Bang. So they're way bigger than anyone would have expected for that point in time. The current theory is that galaxies began as small clouds of stars and dust that have grown. That said, experts do admit there's still the possibility that at least some of what looks like galaxies now could turn out to be something else, like supermassive black holes. Either way, the scientists say they're astounded and will continue to research what they found to learn more. More news is still coming up, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Indeed. If you're a business owner that likes to get the news highlights quickly, then you'll probably love Indeed because it helps give you what you need to know fast. With Indeed Instant Match, you can instantly receive a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. So if you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. I always appreciate a platform that lets you get more done in less time. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. It seems America's winter flu season has already come and gone much earlier than usual. And it was a little more mild than usual, too. To some, that's surprising, since this year's most dominant strain was the kind that typically causes higher rates of hospitalizations and deaths. But good news is this year's flu vaccine has done well, like better than it has in at least 10 years. For context, officials are generally happy if a vaccine for the flu is 40 to 60% effective. Well, the CDC says this year's batch exceeded expectations. New data shows it has been 68% effective at keeping children out of the hospital. With grown-ups, it wasn't quite as effective, but still kept adults out of the hospital 43% of the time. Many experts say they're encouraged by those numbers. Others say it's still not high enough, and they're calling for better vaccines for the future. Though, keep in mind, CDC officials say it is still possible this flu season is not totally over yet. In the past, there have been second surges in the late winter or spring. Well, there's a serious new warning over dry eye relief products sold all over the U.S. The FDA put out an alert about 3 products that might be contaminated with a dangerous bacteria that could even be deadly. This is in response to an outbreak earlier this year that hospitalized and blinded dozens of Americans. Now there's a recall that includes EzriCare and Delsum Pharma's artificial tears, as well as Delsum Pharma's artificial eye ointment. They were all made by the same Indian manufacturer. The FDA has faulted the company for several violations and banned imports into the U.S. Stores have been ordered to pull the products, but some of them can still be found for sale online. Of course, the FDA tells people not to use them and says anyone who sees signs or symptoms of an eye infection should seek medical care right away. So we've told you about some issues with Microsoft's new AI chatbot recently, but now the company says it's addressing those quirks and expanding the tech's reach. Microsoft is updating the Bing and Edge apps for iPhone and Android to include access to the AI chatbot. Plus, AI-powered Bing is coming to Skype. With all 3 apps, you'll be able to ask it questions and get answers in bullet points, simple responses, or traditional text. Already in the 2 weeks since Microsoft unveiled its new interactive Bing, more than 1 million users have experimented with the public preview. The company says most of those people were happy with it. But others who had longer back and forths reported bizarre issues, like Bing insulting them, threatening them, or professing its love for them. So Microsoft made some fixes. Now Bing will not answer questions it would have responded to just a week ago, like about how it works, the rules that guide it, or human emotions. There are also now some limits to how many questions you can ask. Expect more changes in the future, too. Microsoft says it's going to keep tweaking the chatbot in response to user feedback. It's not just search engines. Expect to start seeing artificial intelligence in your streaming apps, too. This week, Spotify unveiled a new AI DJ. It's supposed to curate your music based on your personal tastes, like it does already, and offer commentary on whatever music, artists, or genres you're listening to, thanks to AI. Spotify premium users in the US and Canada can check out the feature now. And speaking of streaming, YouTube Music just introduced a new feature that lets you create your own custom radio station. So instead of picking between pre-existing stations, playlists, or albums, you can try something new. You can pick up to 30 artists, choose how often they appear, and apply filters that change the mood of the station. You can use it whether you're a paying subscriber or have the free version. Talk about a superstar collaboration. The Rolling Stones are teaming up with the two surviving Beatles bandmates on a new album. Yep, that means 60 years after they were first deemed rivals, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr are coming together with Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and the rest of the Stones, now that they're all in their 70s and 80s. Variety confirmed McCartney has already recorded bass parts for the new Stones album, and that Ringo is also going to be playing drums on it. This will be the Stones' first new original album since 2005. It's not clear when it will actually come out, but the Rolling Stones have already started promoting new music on the way. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a word from our sponsor, Stitch Fix. Believe it or not, spring is around the corner, and Stitch Fix will help you be ready. They have a range of spring-forward clothes, trends, and patterns to help refresh your wardrobe. And you can do it all with the help of a personal stylist. Yep, Stitch Fix will curate the perfect pieces for your unique style and fit. All you have to do is answer a few questions about where you typically like to shop, what you like to wear, and your price range. Then you can try your pieces at home before you buy, keep what you love, and just send the rest back. Free shipping, returns, and exchanges always. And no subscription required. I've gotten some of my favorite pieces, from tops to shoes, from Stitch Fix. And I've been wearing my favorite outfit lately, which includes a cute tank, comfortable trendy boots, and a neutral color purse, and I got all of them from Stitch Fix. Plus, right now, Stitch Fix is offering my listeners $20 off their first fix at stitchfix.com/newsworthy. That's stitchfix.com/newsworthy for $20 off today. stitchfix.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. You might have heard in the past that it's really up to you to advocate for yourself at the doctor's office. Well, this could be a reason why. A recent study found it's impossible for doctors to actually follow all the guidelines for preventive, chronic, and acute disease care as issued by the well-known medical groups. And that's because if an American doctor did all that for each of their patients, the study says it would take 27 hours in a day. And let's say a doctor totally bypassed the chronic and acute care, as well as administrative work like charting, dealing with insurance, calling patients about results, and so on. Well, that would leave them with only the preventive care checklist. And the American Journal of Public Health found that alone would take more than 8.5 hours of the doctor's day. When the New York Times asked the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force about this issue, the news outlet got an email back that said no one is suggesting doctors actually try to tick off each guideline in a single visit. But some doctors say that's an issue too, since a lot of people are not seeing the same doctor over multiple primary care visits in a year. They tell the Times there needs to be other solutions, like streamlined guidelines or more resources for their offices. In the meantime, experts say there are ways to advocate for yourself so doctors know to prioritize the things that matter to you. And that means jotting down some notes about any changes you've noticed in your health or any questions or concerns you might have before your appointment. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.